It's been over 2 years since the long-awaited Boruto Timeskip began serialization. From the moment Boruto began, we knew that a timeskip was inevitable. In fact, for many people, the anticipation for a timeskip and what mysteries that would unravel was the entire appeal of the story. But has it lived up to expectations? The Boruto vs Kawaki clickbait in Chapter 1 was a clever tactic to get people interested in Boruto as a sequel. What happened to Naruto? What happened to the village? What is Boruto's eye? Why are they fighting each other? It's funny looking back on that scene because now, basically a decade later, we still don't have the answers. We may have some pretty decent theories, but the flash forward still feels like a long way away. But let's take a step back. How did we get here? And how good is the content of the timeskip so far? Boruto 2 Blue Vortex began in August of 2023 after a 3-month hiatus, and I'd say it started off with a bang. The first few chapters were all really good and piqued my interest in the story. Boruto's new powers, some cool fights, the Sasuke Shinju plot twist, Boruto vs Mitsuki, Boruto vs Code. It all drew me in, and I was loving every bit of it. Jura and Hidari invading the village was really fun too, and the reveal of Himawari's Nine Tails power and Koji's omnipotence plot twist really sealed the deal. Plus the fights like Boruto and Sarada vs Hidari and Himawari vs Jura were just really fun to read. Those first 15 chapters or so were great and made me get so invested in the story. I was dying to read the new chapter every month, watching for leaks or news like a hawk. But if you guys may have noticed in my channel upload history, the arc after this one kinda killed my interest in the story. Maybe it was just burnout or the pains of the monthly release schedule, but I was not a fan of the Shinki rescue arc. At first. Months would go by with little to no plot development. I think this is the weakest part of the manga so far. The pacing is awful, and it didn't help that I found Konohamaru's conflict with Matsuri to be irritating, and Sarada's drama with Sumire over who liked Boruto more completely uninteresting. Maybe that's just a me problem because I recognize a lot of people are really invested in shipping characters and love stories, but these aren't good love stories and never have been in the Naruto franchise, so to me it just feels like a distraction from the main story we care about. Matsuri's defeat, albeit cool to look at, was still anticlimactic and underwhelming because there simply was no build-up. Ryu's fight was more interesting, but he still seemed like he got killed off long before much could be done with this character. But let's focus on the highlights of this arc because the latter half of the arc is significantly better. For starters, Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan awakening was awesome. This is definitely the best moment her character has ever had in the story, and I feel like they did the scene justice. Every time a new Mangekyo Sharingan ability is revealed, it always hits. And immediately following that, we get Boruto making his move and luring out Jura, which was completely out of left field and not what I was expecting, in a good way. The following few chapters that wrapped up this arc probably contain the best fight in the series so far. And although it feels completely unattached from the main purpose of the arc, it technically still falls within it and gives us a much better conclusion. Boruto vs Jura is great. It's back and forth, with some fun twists and turns, and genuinely interesting fight choreography. We finally get to see Boruto struggle for once, and my boy Kawaki throw some hands properly. These last few chapters did a great job of turning around an otherwise boring arc and cementing Jura as an even more threatening force, knowing that the likes of Boruto and Kawaki together were still no match for him. Following this, we tie up some loose ends from the following arc and begin ramping up the conflict with the next Shinju, Mamushi. I'm liking the inclusion of Inojin in this new arc, and I'm getting the sense that a lot more characters will need to be involved to help defeat Mamushi. So things have really turned around for me these past few months, and I'm looking forward to reading Boruto once again. It's partly why I'm making this video right now, to be honest. So all in all, is the timeskip an improvement? I'd say yes. Boruto 2 Blue Vortex has better art, better writing, better villains, and a far more interesting protagonist than part 1 of the manga. Boruto as a character is so much more better in the sequel, way more compelling in his story, way more nuanced in his decision making, and just hands down a cooler character. I genuinely really enjoy every time he's on screen, and that's saying something. Additionally, the Shinju are such a breath of fresh air as villains and are really unique in their motivation. Although I've never watched Hunter x Hunter, I hear they're frequently compared to chimera ants, and I know that's in a good way. If you're on the fence, then I'd say it's definitely worth reading. You can get through it in a day or two if you got the time. At only 28 chapters, it's really not that long. So would I say the Boruto timeskip lived up to my expectations? Yes, because I didn't keep my expectations astronomically high going into the timeskip. I understood that nothing was going to fundamentally change about the story, so the same issues I had before would likely still be present in the newest manga. But would I say it met most other people's expectations? Probably not, because I think most people expected some dramatic improvement to the artwork, the release schedule, or the writing, and that just simply didn't happen. If you didn't already like Boruto Naruto Next Generations, then you're probably not going to suddenly start liking the timeskip either. Now I will leave a caveat here at the end, and that is that I think things may play out differently in the anime. If everything I'm hearing is right and Studio Pierrot will bring Boruto back in a seasonal format, then the Timeskip's anime may be significantly better in quality. Pacing issues like fights being way too short and dialogue being way too drawn out can easily be fixed with a faithful anime adaptation. So those of you who couldn't get into the original Boruto anime, I still fully intend to recommend watching the Two Blue Vortex anime when it comes out. Anyways, that's all for today. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be dropping more anime and manga related content again, so stay tuned. Peace out, boys.